Welcome to Easy Elimu Learning Simplified. My name is Eric. I'll be taking you through the topic divisibility tests, and for this lesson we'll be covering divisibility test for 10. So we will start by looking at the divisibility test for So we'll start by covering the divisibility test for 10, then we will look at some of the problems involving divisibility test for 10, and then possibly at the end of the lesson you'll be able to get some questions to help you with practice and also to check on your understanding of the concept that is discussed within this lesson. So how would you know that a number is divisible by 10? So we will use the test and then possibly also try and use the long division. Remember, for long division, we said the remainder should be 0 for you to confirm that the number is divisible by a particular divisor. So we'll be able to use the long division method so that we see whether we are getting a remainder of 0 at the end of the division process. And of course, we'll be able to confirm that using the divisibility test, which is here. So the condition that is necessary for a number to be divisible by 10 is that the last digit must be 0. So you just need to focus on the last digit here. So the last digit should be 0 for the number to be divisible by 10. So if you realize that the last digit is not 0, for example, a number like 25 or 245, you see here the last digit is not 0. So this number here is not divisible by 10. So we have a few examples here that we are going to use. First, we will use the long division method, maybe for one or two of them, and then we see whether we can use the divisibility test to check whether the number is divisible by 10. So let me pick like the first one here. So I'm going to use the divisibility test to help us confirm. So we have I have 12 1260. So I want to try and divide it by 10 to see whether the remainder down there will be 0 after we are done with the division process. So if you divide 12, or 10 goes into 12 once, and 1 by 10 is 10. So if you subtract, that is 2. You drop this 6. 10 goes into 26 2 times. 2 by 10 is 20. So if you subtract, this is 6, you drop this down here. So 10 goes into 60 6 times. And 6 by 10 is 60, and you can see that the remainder is finally 0. You get a remainder of 0 down here, then that confirms that the dividend is divisible by the divisor. So that is long division method. So you can then see that the last digit is also 0. If you try this second one here, 1530, you try to divide it by 10. Try to divide it by 10. Then 10 goes into 15 once, and 1 by 10 is 10. If you subtract, that is 5. You drop the next one, which is 3. 10 goes into 50 5 times, and 5 by 10 is 50. You subtract this 3, you drop the next 0 here, and 10 goes into 33 times, and 3 by 10 is 30. And if you subtract, you can see the result is 0 down here. So immediately we have the result, I mean the final difference down there is 0. Then you know that the dividend is divisible by the divisor there. So it simply means in simple terms that 1530 is divisible by 10, and you can see again the last digit is 0. So you can test, you can continue with that process. You realize that that is usually the trend. So we can then conclude and generalize that every time the last digit is 0, then that number is divisible by 10. You can always try that. So we have all these numbers ending in a 0, and that means that they are all divisible by 10. So every time you have a number with the last digit 0, then you know that number is divisible by 10. So we have our first example here. Use long division method to show that the following numbers are divisible by 10. So we did this already. We did this. You can try and do the third one. So 18, 90. So 10. So 10 goes into 18 once. 1 times 10 is 10. You subtract this is 8. You drop 9 down here. 10 goes into 89. 8 times and 8 by 10 is 80. If you subtract that is 9. You drop 0 down here, and 10 goes into 90. 9 times and 9 by 10 is 90. And if you subtract, the final remainder is 0. So because of that, we can conclude that this number is divisible by 10. And that is the same trend here, and it's the same trend over there, as you are able to see in the previous example. So let's see example 2. So we are supposed to use the divisibility test of 10 or for 10 to prove so we are supposed to use the divisibility test for 10 to prove that the following numbers are divisible by 10. So here you'll simply how you need to frame the answer is divisible by 10 since the last digit is 0. So that is the same answer that you'll be giving for this and for that. You simply say the number is divisible by 10 because the last digit is 0, and you're done. So that marks the end. You are supposed to attempt the following questions, at least to try and test on your understanding of the concept. You can always post the responses on the comment section. You'll be able to look at them and give feedback accordingly. So the question is state with a reason whether the following numbers are divisible by 10 or not. So if not, you say why, and if they are, then you also state the reason why you feel they are divisible by 10. Otherwise, that marks the end of this session. Bye.